Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So today's upload is going to be a video about the pattern and what to expect in terms of rain, in terms of snow possibly, the weather, the temperatures, and all sorts of that stuff. So if you guys enjoy these forecasts, I know I do them less frequently now, but I definitely will try keeping a more consistent schedule. I've kind of been taking a little bit of some breaks because it's just less active, especially since the crisis, right now you're basically getting paid slim to none money for this, which again isn't really a huge driving factor, but it is a little bit of a problem. But I wanted to mention that thank you for all those that did stay and watch my previous videos, and welcome if you're new, which we shouldn't really have many people that are new to this channel, as this channel has been I guess on a lower end of viewing scales. But that's perfectly normal. It happens this time of the year. So if you would like to consider subscribing, please do so. If you want to like the video, consider doing so as well. So let's look at this GFS model and let's see what it's showing. So right now, there's a storm across the central United States. It's delivering a little bit of scattered showers across the upper Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota area, and then into Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, Illinois. You can see it's delivering a wide area of very light to moderate rain, nothing heavy. Maybe just because of the consistent factor, it's been a little bit, maybe some ponding issues, but it's a very light rain. I mean, I know that today for us, it's been raining 24 hours of just pure rain, and it's been a very dreary day, but I guess it's essential since we've been kind of dry here. You're gonna notice this thing pushes off into parts of the northeast, and this delivers quite a bit of rain and possibly snow into the upper elevations of the northeast. We got a warmer push of air into Monday and Sunday. You could see we have another little disturbance coming through. This one's kind of coming from the north, and you can see that delivers a little bit of rain, maybe possibly to Monday into Tuesday morning across Illinois, Indiana, Wisconsin. Notice also that the very warm temperatures will be across the southwest. If you look at the 2-meter temperature shaded, they would be very hot. The worst may still be yet to come, to be honest with you. There's some 90s, some 80s, but I think there could be some hundreds in the near future. So let's quickly go back to the MSLP and precip. There's another large system that may be taking place Tuesday into Wednesday. We'll definitely have to watch this storm, as this one may be potential and may for once have severe weather that is further up north. You can see there's a pretty large extended area of precipitation right there across Minnesota into Wisconsin and Iowa. And that color right there is an indicator of possibly more severe weather and heavier rain. And then notice into the south we could have another threat yet again across Arkansas and Tennessee. So we have to definitely watch the storm, because it seems like a large storm is on its way. And you can see that brings a cool pack of temperatures into the eastern U.S., but really warms things up even further into the west. Now this is May 1st, so meteorological no, this is still meteorological summer or spring. I thought for a second that it starts in May, but it's June 1st that summer starts officially. And you can see it gets warm. It definitely is warm. It's not really hot across the northern U.S. or eastern U.S., but it's definitely warm and hot across the south, and especially the southwest. So it depends on where you live. But you could see that there's a lot of precipitation that's going to be moving around even into the Washington, Oregon area. And then we could see that there's just this constant little bulb of cooler temperatures hanging out right across the upper portions of the Midwest, and that really is kind of just a reminder that the cooler winter temperatures are still hanging around and not ready to go yet. And you can see right there another blast into Thursday, May 8th, 7th, which is very far out, right? But we have to keep an eye on for this because the pattern has been for these little cool shots of air to come through. And you can see even some heavier snow across Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire. So really just very warm across the southwest, not too warm across the eastern U.S. And you can see a lot of rain, just lots of big storms and systems. Let's look at the 2-meter temperature shaded based on a GFS, and let's run this through. You can see by the very end of this forecasting period, on May 11th, we see heat across the south. Okay, it's not just warm; it's literally just heat. And I'll just show you this forecast one by one. So definitely the coldest locations for this long range forecast will be anything in this zone. I mean, temperatures will stay here much warmer than even will be by the Big Bear Lake into central parts of Canada, honestly. And just to give you a reference, at this latitude, polar bears live right there, so you'll be possibly warmer than parts of the Great Lakes, and not just 1 or 2 days consistently. So you can see right now, if we were to run this through, we are hour 6. Let's run this through Sunday. Tomorrow you can see the system's off in the northeast, a bit warmer across the Midwest, actually fairly warm. You can see it gets hot across the Southwest, across the desert Southwest, 93, 98. And then if we were to look further into Monday, let's see, you can see there's another little sliver of cooler air right there associated with a bit of rain. But if we were to forward this, you could see some warmer temperatures finally break into the eastern U.S. This is kind of like a day of break, but you can see the system right here is really winding itself up and delivers a pack of cooler air across Wednesday, across again the Great Lakes and Midwest. And notice how it's warmer up in Canada than it is here, in Chicago or even southern Illinois. So New Jersey, New York, really staying chillier on the chillier side. Then we see Thursday, again, chilly across the Great Lakes, very warm across the south, 90, 94, 98. Very hot, but the Northwest and the Great Lakes staying relatively chilly. And again, the plains looking very warm. You can see getting into southern Canada, getting very warm. Again, this is just one model, but it's a pretty good representation of what all the models have been showing. And notice that if we look into 18Z Friday, May 1st, we see that, again, it's relatively chilly across the Midwest. Nothing too extraordinary, below average, but it gets really warm across the plains, and some of this heat moves away from California into the plains. Then the south starts getting warmed up. You can see maybe finally spreading into the northeastern United States, but then we see another lingering cool front to the north, and that kind of makes its way into the Great Lakes over time. This is still technically kind of below average, right around average, I would say, but it's definitely above average for the south. But it's pretty significantly below average for these parts of the United States. And nothing, no cold outbreak, but you can see up here actually there is some pretty chilly air which will make its way down here. Another cool blast of air for the Great Lakes, chillier because of some rain. And then you can see just a more persistent cool batch of air. You can see into Friday it gets cool, and then the warm air just will have a very hard time in the Great Lakes to get into the Great Lakes. But you can see that, look at those temperatures right there, very cool across the Great Lakes, 50s, 40s into the plains, and then look, 70s and 80s up to Canada. Now if this were to happen, this would be pretty bad news, as you can see that the temperature anomalies would just be insanely above average. I mean, if this same anomaly would be across, say, Florida, that would be in the hundreds. This is just ridiculously warm for those parts of the country, and we'll have to wait and see whether or not that comes true. This is the GFS model, so it does tend to do some of these little tricks, kind of trying to fool us, so we have to be careful. But if we were to look at the GEFS, which is not just one model like the GFS, it's many models like the GFS, kind of like models. And if you were to look at this, notice that it stays warmer across the south and the west, but then as you go into the northeast and northern United States, it rather remains chilly. You can see there's always just a little batch of stubborn air that's hanging around. Yes, there's going to be moments where it breaks through. You can see here the warm air is pretty much all throughout the the country. And then you can see another cool blast of air, and this one, again, remains reluctant for a while and actually kind of starts dominating the U.S. So we'll have to see for what happens. At this point, there's some mixed feelings about this. The GFS showing cooler conditions. Week 3 to 4 outlook, you can see it's showing warmer, generally warmer, just a little bit of chilliness and above average. So it's really tough to say, but for the next 8 to 14 days, I'd rather say it's going to be chilly. And you can see that the 8 to 14 day outlook, chillier temps, warmer across the south. 6 to 10 day outlook is a little bit more optimistic towards the warm temperatures. Not sure if it's going to pan out like it's showing here. Hopefully it does. It's just about time for warm temperatures to come through. But even still parts of the northeast being a bit below average, and maybe into the west. But definitely heating up across the plains and into the southwest. You can see precipitation remains above average while below average where the warm temperature is. So that's a recipe for some drought across the south. And you can see that finally the pattern does break and we get more above average in the places where they need it in the south. But unfortunately, not in California. But let's look at some of the European models and see what they're showing. And you can see that this is higher up in the atmosphere, 850 HPA, but it's generally still representing. You can see these little lobes of chillier air coming in, and intermixed with some warm as well. So awfully, not awfully too bad. But I want to pay a little bit closer attention to that storm that could be occurring this upcoming Tuesday, as that could really be a cause for concern for severe weather. You can see that the NAM 12KM, the North American model, shows a rather robust system coming out across late Tuesday into early Wednesday morning across Illinois and Indiana. Now this line right here, that would be probably a severe weather line, for cause for concern, and some light to moderate rain across the northern locations. But I think that this model is a bit underplaying some of this activity here. Let's look at the European model to see what it shows with its millibars of pressure. And you can see a 996, that's a pretty strong storm, 999 right there, and 1000, that's pretty powerful. And you can see the isobars are packed, a bit of a cool down would occur, and some severe weather possibly after that as well. So let's quickly glance at that. So you can see that the European, I'm now showing you the surface and precipitation. It shows this little system, at first very small and really not doing much at all across North Dakota and South Dakota, but then as you put it forward into Tuesday, during the day Tuesday, it really evolves into this rather more powerful system. Lots of rain, gets energy from the south, from the Gulf of Mexico, which is kind of unusual given the fact that it's so far to the north. And you can see that it delivers quite a punch. I mean, this line would be possibly severe. Lots of rain out in front of it. So this is good news for those areas that need rain, but it's gonna come in a rather dramatic fashion, and you can see that it pounds through and just develops that classic, even almost the winter-like storm shape. You can see here's that cold front, the warm front would be out ahead of it, and here we have those strong winds spinning on the backside of it, which would kick off very chilly air temperatures across this portion of the country, and that's really going to be reflected on the 2-meter temperatures. If you were to look at them, you can see there's just a swirl of coolness. While we have 60s, 70s to the south, we see these warmer, cooler temperatures to where the storm passed through, and you can see that's exactly what it does, and it probably will reflect even more on the daytime high. So on Thursday, you can see there's a cooler air mass. And if we were to go back to the precipitation, this thing doesn't end its trip in the Great Lakes. It continues out into the northeast with this just giant line of precipitation coming from the south. Very drenching rain, heavy rain, severe weather possible. So good news, bad news. It will bring rain. That's good for spring, but unfortunately, it could come in a little bit of a too much. It could come in a little too much of a dosage, too high of a dosage, and you can see that the rain comes especially heavy across portions of the northeast. You can see it's just gonna be pretty substantial, 4 or 5 inches widespread. While in the Midwest it's there, but it's limited. You can see it's 1 to 2 inches, which is still a lot. I think that this European model may be just over a bit exaggerating some of these rainfall amounts, but you can see that it also calculates in quite a bit of precipitation from this first system that is coming on right now across the country. And you can see European puts out already 7/10 of an inch, which we've already mainly received that thus far. But it really just increases those rainfall amounts with that storm that's upcoming. And for the northeast, in case you're wondering, the bulk of this will be falling probably Thursday, Friday, maybe into Sunday across the northeast. Let's put this into motion. Thursday, yeah, mainly into Thursday and Friday. You can see it just really excels these amounts, and we'll have to be careful to see how much actually does fall. So thank you guys so much for watching. Consider liking the video, consider subscribing to the channel, and I'll catch you all guys in the next episode. See ya. Bye.